Hello vintage tent fans and welcome to Warrior Camping. Now today I've got another really old tent for you today. I do think this tent is really old. I think this tent is from the early 60s. So it's a really old one this. And this tent is designed to be a mountaineering tent. So it's got a really thick rubber base to it. So it is designed to be pitched on snow and ice, this one. So this is a proper early mountaineering tent. Lovely old tent this. And a very rare tent and all this one. You won't find one of these very easy. If you wanted to get your hands on one of these, you'd have to do some serious hunting, because you just don't find these anymore. They've all been worn out, overused, and ended up being chucked away probably. Because this would have been quite a popular tent, I reckon, back in the day when this thing was new. Because, like, Marechal was a really big company. They had the original pegs. Look at them, big, massive snow pegs to go into snow. But I'm not using them. I shall get my little packet of bubblegum pegs out and pitch it up with them. Now this tent, I've had this tent for years. I have had it a long time. I've probably had this tent since I was about 13 or 14, I reckon. So I've had it quite a long time. It was really old when I got it. It was had a few years on it. And I got this in France. I was on holiday with my mum and dad. We was in France and we went to like a French like flea market, and like looking round with my mum and dad, looking at stuff at the old flea market. It was all second-hand stuff there for sale, and a bloke had a few tents on his stall, and this was one of them. So I remember looking at this tent, and I had a little bit of money on me, and it wasn't that much money. It was in like a French little flea market. So I remember looking at it, opening the bag and that, and thinking, oh, that's really old, Marechal. I knew then that Marechal was a good company. I know I was really into tents by then. I read about them, I had books on tents. I knew loads by then. So I know this Marechal tent was something a little bit special, and you didn't really see them in the UK. So I like found it. There wasn't no eBay or nothing to find these sort of tents. Not back then. There was nothing like that. So I sort of see this and was thinking, oh, I might get that. But then the bloke, when I was looking for his other tents, he had a really old vintage Phoenix tent as well, and I was there and I was like, oh, I only had enough money to buy one. It's like, what do I buy? Do I buy the Marechal tent or do I buy the Phoenix tent? I wanted both of them. And then my dad come over and he went, what are you doing? I went, oh, Dad, I'm gonna buy one of these tents with my little bit of money. I think I had some birthday money or something from my nan or something like that. I was, I'm going to buy a little tent. I've found this Marechal I might buy, but I've found this Phoenix that I really like, and I don't know what one I want. They're both going to be really good little tents. I sort of want them both, but I can only afford one. I don't know which one to buy. So my dad was a bit of a haggler. That's where I get it from. So my dad sort of took over. Neither of us spoke French. The bloke didn't speak much English. But my dad said to me, how much money have you got? And I can't remember. I didn't have a lot of money. I was like, I got this much. He's like, right, give me that. I had that. And my dad went to the bloke, right, that tent and that tent, this much. So we had a deal, and he got them a lot cheaper, and I bought this tent and an old Phoenix tent. I'll dig the Phoenix one out another day. It's a lovely old little tunnel Phoenix tent. Lovely it is. So I was really happy. I had this tent and the Phoenix tents. I got them both in France a long time ago. So I've had both of the tents, Phoenix and this one, a very long time. But some of the other tents I've got, I have had longer, but I've still had these ones a long time. This old Marechal I've had a long time. And it was a bit worn, this Marechal, when I got it. It wasn't immaculate, but it's still nice enough. It's still usable. It does need the rubbers doing. They are really dry on it. I've just been feeling them. They are just at the end of their life, all the rubbers and that. But like I said, this one, it's a weird one, because look at that thick rubber base. That is for pitching on snow, this, so a proper mountaineering tent. And not very high, this one, it's really low slung, because it's designed to be out in really windy conditions. So this is another one. You got to dive in it with the poles. And if you see me do the poles, they're good poles, these, because they got that little ball that you push in and then they lock in. So the poles all lock together. None of the poles falling apart on this one. They are locked together. And these are really light poles. Aluminium, really light these poles are. For how thick they are, and like how many poles it's got with it, that little group of poles together weighs really nothing. They are so light, these poles, they really are. So this whole tent, I don't think it would be that heavy if it didn't have that big rubber base. That rubber base makes this heavy, because the fly on this one, it weighs nothing. I do think the fly on this one is nylon. I'm not 100% on that. There is nothing about this tent tell you what it's made of. No labels or nothing. But I do think the fly is nylon, because it is so light, this fly. So like with this tent, like I said, you can't find out what the fly's made out of. I've been online trying to find out stuff a bit about this tent. Can't find anything out about this tent. You can't. But I did see this tent once in like a brochure. That's why I'm thinking it is from the early 60s. Because I like found online like a little Marechal brochure, and it had some pictures and that. Now the pictures weren't that good, but the brochure was from the early 60s, and I'm sure there was a little picture of this tent. It might not have been this tent, it might have been one really similar, but it really looked like this little tent. And it was from early 60s. I think that brochure was from like 1962 or something like that. And this tent was in it for sale. Or I'm 90% sure of that, because it was only a little rubbish picture. All the writing was in French, but it did look like my little Marechal tent, the J3 this one's called. It did look like that. So it is definitely old, this tent. You only need to look at it and look how it is made to realise this tent is a really old one. I'm pretty sure it is from the early 60s, but that was it for sale in the catalogue, so I'm not sure when it was actually first for sale. This tent could be from the 50s. That catalogue, they might have made this tent and been selling it for 10 or 20 years. But it was in like a catalogue from 1962, a Marechal catalogue. So as you can see, that goes through like that. And then it's got these little metal bits, and the ridge pole sits up above them. So you have them little bits, they go on, they're aluminium as well. That is why there is no rust on them. Camera down for a second so we can do the ridge pole, because it goes through like a loop in the middle of the tent, so it supports the roof of the tent in the middle of the ridge pole, and then it goes on either end and sits on top of them little metal like sleeves that you just watched me put over. So like the Marechal company, I'm pretty sure it's still going. You can still buy a brand new Marechal tent. They seem to only make like big tents and all that now, awnings and all that. But I think you can still buy a new Marechal tent. So you can see it's got the rubbers, you pull it out and it's got like a sort of wider shape to the back here. It's skinny right where your feet go, and then it gets a bit wider towards the front. And the back pole on this is lower than the front pole. So There's a lot less height in the back of the tent where your feet go to at the front of the tent. But it's not that high at the front, this tent. It is really a low slung little tent so it doesn't catch the wind. It is really like low, this tent. It's not very big, this tent inside. You'll see when we both get in here. You can have two people in this. It's sort of a two-person tent, but it's not the biggest two-man tent that you're going to get. So I'll just go round, whacking some pegs in these little rubbers. I need to do all these. They are so dry, these rubbers. Poor little Marechal tent. It needs a bit of like work done on it, this little tent. I've just noticed a few little bits with it. I will do it because I love this old tent and it's a really rare tent, this is. You won't find another one of these. This is like a rare tent and I love it. It's got that big thick rubber base. So this is like a proper mountain tent, this one. This isn't designed for pitching on grass and like normal camping. This thing's designed to go up in the mountains, go up in the Alps and go exploring with this one. Pitch it up on a big ice sheet or something. So I like that about this tent. Proper adventurer's tent from back in the day. So just get a couple more pegs in it, pull it out there. You see them rubbers, they're not far off going, them rubbers. If you had this thing out in like heavy winds, they'd all start pinging off. I'll have to get some bungee cord and do it. But I don't really want to like cut them rubbers off all the time they are still working because they are original. So it is nice to keep it original, but they are just worn out really, them rubbers. They're so dry. Let's move round to the other side and get some pegs in this side and then the little tent will hold itself up. The lovely little J3 Marechal. So I'll just get another peg into this side and then the little tent will stay up on its own. No need to hold the poles up, that'll hold itself in place. So I'll just do this middle one, get a peg in there. The rubber's pinged off of that one already. So I'll just put it through the little loop, peg it into place. It's a bit grubby, this tent, but it was sort of like this when I've got it. I haven't made it any worse. This is how I was when I got it. And you got to imagine it, this tent was years and years old when I first got it. So it was a really old tent when I first got my hands on it. And it must have been used a fair bit, this tent. Now you can see, look at that base. Big, thick rubber base on it. So I think it's that makes this tent heavy. Because when it's all rolled up, it is quite heavy. But the poles are light, the fly's light. It would be light without that thick rubber base. But back in the day, it needed that to be pitched on snow or whatever. It probably was really waterproof, this thing. That base is sort of like a modern day like fish pond liner or something, really. It's really thick like rubber. Heavy duty. So there she is, the little Marechal. The inner is up. Look at that. You can't really see it so much here. Because my garden's on a slope, it sort of looks like the front and back are a similar sort of level. But they're not. If this thing was on flat ground, the back is quite a bit lower than the front. And you see, it's nice, the back there, the shape to it. It's got a lovely shape going on, this tent. It really has. So another day, I'm going to do it with this tent. I shall do the new cords on it and all that. And I shall get this thing out camping in it. Because I haven't used this one for a while. It has been pitched a lot. Because I don't leave it in the bag too long. I don't want it to go bad. But I haven't had this out for a few years. It has just really been pitched up out here. Well, I haven't lived there that long, so it's been pitched up at my old house in the garden, pitched up, and then like put away again. I haven't actually had this thing out on an adventure for quite a while, but now I've got the channel. this is one that deserves to go out on some adventures, this old Marechal, because this is a proper old vintage adventurer's tent, rare as you like, and a lovely little tent this is. Warm little tent this is as well. I've used this like years ago. I used to use this a lot in the winter, take it out, because it's really good in the wind and that, where it's so low slung. I used to like take this tent out winter time because it's got that nice thick inner and all that, and that ground sheet doesn't let the cold through, that thick rubber. So in here, when it's like freezing cold, this was one of the warmest little tents I had to take out. I'd like go out with mates and that. I'd take this, and you'd go in there like modern tent, it'd be freezing inside. Get back in this thing, within 5 minutes of being in there, 'cause it's so small and low slung and that, it would just warm up and be lovely and warm in here. So this really is like a good tent for cold weather camping. Warmer than any modern tent this thing is, I tell ya. No modern tent will warm up and hold heat like this thing does. This thing warms up lovely, really does. Lovely little tent to use. You get a nice big sleeping bag in here and all that. Lovely and snug. You could be out any weather, any temperatures in this. If you got the right sleeping bag and all that, you'll be warm as you like in here. So this little tent, well, I've said it now, I'm going to get new bits for this because I'm looking at it now and I'm realising how much I love this old tent. It is a special little tent, this one, because it's so rare and it's such a good tent, this is. And I've said it now on the channel, I'm going to redo all the bottom of this, put new cords and that on it, and I'm going to get this thing out. This winter I'll get out in this camping and do some vintage camping with the old Marechal. I've got some other Marechal tents, but they are not as old as this one, and they haven't got that big rubber base on them. They are sort of more like normal camping tents. They're still old, they are not new. I like the Marechal tents, they're lovely quality, these old ones. But this one is the best one I've got, really, with that big rubber base, and it's geared up proper mountain tent. You don't find them like this. So I love this little one. And then the other ones that I've got, I've seen them come up on eBay quite a lot. The old Marechal tents, they are out there still. But this one, you don't see this one. This one is rare as you like, this J3. It really is a rare little tent. And I love them when they're a bit rare. And this thing, alright, change them rubbers and that on it. Put new cords round all the bottom. It might need a little bit of strengthening here and there with a little bit of sewing so you could get it out in the wind and all that. Just strengthen them tabs up a bit. But there is nothing wrong with this tent. There is nothing major wrong with it. It's just showing its age a little bit. But the fly on this thing is mint. The fly's lovely. So there is nothing wrong with that. Other than it could do with a little bit of strengthening on the tabs. Just a little bit of sewing round it. I'll do that another day. Get my needle and cotton out. A few little repairs. Put new cords on this. And get this old Marechal tent out camping. Because I do like this old tent. It's fantastic, this old one. And like where this tent come from, like I said, I got it in a little flea market in France. It was right near the Alps, so I like to think that this tent has been out and about camping up in the Alps. This tent has been proper adventured up in the Alps, pitched up, high up, right up in the mountains, probably in all weathers. So if this tent could tell its story, I bet it has got a good story to tell, this one. Because it's like where I bought it from, right in the Alps. It's geared up for them Alps with that big rubber base on it. So I bet this tent has had a lot of adventures. Because it sort of looked like this when I've got it. It's not got any worse since I've had it. I've had it a long, long time, this tent. But I've like always looked after it and sort of kept it as nice as I can. So it was like this when I got it. Whereas, like I said, I got two tents. I got this one and a Phoenix tent. The Phoenix tent was really nice condition. This one was like this. It was a bit dirty and a bit warm when I got it. But I think this one is a fair bit older than that Phoenix tent. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Now look at that with it up. Now that is a proper old adventurer's tent. Look at the adventures someone must have had in there. I'd love to talk to the man who owned this before me and find out where he'd had it, because I bet this tent has seen some action. Look at it. What a great looking little tent that is. It is lovely. The only thing that's a bit of a drama with this tent is where it's so low slung with that door and that, and the poles right in the middle. It is a little bit awkward getting in and out. If you was a big, massive person, you'd struggle getting in and out of this. I'm like a normal sized sort of bloke, really, so I can get in and out of this alright. But if you was big, I think you'd struggle getting through that door. Oh, lovely old tent this. And Jess has just said to me, she's give this tent the thumbs up, and Jess has said she wants to go camping in this because she has never seen this tent before. And she's just said how lovely looking it is, and she really wants to get out and use this and do a bit of camping. So that's it now, I've done it. Let's get this whole thing repaired and me and Jess will get out in it, do a bit of camping, or I'll get out my own in the old Marechal and do a bit of camping. It's because it's lovely old tent, this deserves to get out. Deserves a few more adventures, this tent, because that is what it was built for. This is the adventurer's tent. So I bet if you're watching at home, you are liking this. If you're a tent fan, you gotta like this Marechal, innit? Look at it. And if you've got a few years on you, you know that these old Marechals were really sought after. Back in the day, Marechal, its name in tents was like legendary. I know we had the Van Gogh false tents and all that, but this is earlier than that, and if you was like a European, you would have just wanted a Marechal. That would have been the tent you went after. These were like top of the range tents back in the day, these Marechals. So let's unzip it and get in it. And that's what I'm saying, this door is only little, and that pole is right in the middle. So it is a bit awkward getting in and out of this little tent. So it's got a little string there to tie the door back. It's only a little thin bit of string, and somehow that has survived all these years. So it's really lovely in there. It's got a lovely shape inside this tent when you're in it. Really low slung. It's not vented anywhere. That's why this is like a winter tent. This is a mountaineering tent. There is one little tiny vent at the front that you can put a flap over and close it off. So it's not vented out everywhere, this tent. It hasn't got vents all over it. There's no vents. One little vent right at the front up above the door. That's all it's got. But it's got a little flap inside where you can shut that vent off. So you have this tent sealed up. And then it is really a warm little tent, this is. Warms up lovely in here. Look at that big rubber base. Don't see tents like that no more. We didn't see many like that when this was new. I think most tents would have had that like thinner, different base to them. Not like this, the big rubber base. That's why this is geared up for the snow and ice, isn't it? Frosty ground tent, really. And it's really thick, this ground sheet on this. It's not a thin ground sheet. It is really thick bit of like... It is like rubber, but it's sort of... I don't know what it's made of. It does feel like rubber, but it's not 100% rubber. It's a bit like a welly boot or something like that material. It's like a weird material. But it's still waterproof. I've never had nothing come through the ground on this one. I've pitched this on wet ground and all that, and it doesn't leak. And if you see, that's what makes it good. Most tents, and I don't know why they do this, they have all got a seam in the floor. Now, why don't they just get a bigger bit of material and then you don't have a seam on the floor? I've never understood that with tents. Why put a seam on the floor? Surely they can get a bigger bit of that material and make the floor in one bit. But this one is made in one bit. There is no seam. There is no weak point on that ground sheet. It is one lump. So there is nowhere for any water to penetrate through that, 'cause there is no seam. And as you saw there, it's got little pockets, but they're hanging from the ceiling. So you put your little bits up above your head, keep them out of the way. So it's nice in here, nice little shape to it, got the curve on it, really good little shape. Yeah, nice. So like you can see, it's not very high, this tent, especially at the back. Now I'm in it, that back is low down. There's more room up by my head, but where my feet are, that is low. And Jess has just clambered in. She's got a big smile on her face. She's happy getting in here. You have to be. Getting in the old Marechal, this is special. It's very rare you'll get a chance to get in an old tent like this one. So there, look, there's quite a bit of room in here for two people once you're in here. That is like, we're not squeezed up. That's bigger in here than most modern two-man tents. It's got a fair bit of size in here. It's nice with the shape, the way it kind of flares out when it goes nearer the bottom. Lovely in here. See, she's got a big chunk of room beside her. There's a little bit of room in the middle there. And alright, I'm right over as far as I'd want to go, but there's plenty of room in here for two people. Little pockets hanging up there. Put your valuables in there. Keep them out of the way. Keep them nice and dry, hanging up from the ceiling. And it does feel really old in here. I know I've got a lot of old tents, but when you're in them, alright, you know they're a little bit old, but they have got sort of a modernish feel to them. But this tent, the moment you get in here, you know you're in something really old. It's got a really old feel to it, this tent. It really has. Of all the tents I've got, this one seems like the oldest one when you use it. And I think it could be this tent. It could be the oldest tent I own, this one. I'm not 100% on that, because I have got some old ones that I can't find out nothing about. So they could be older than this, but I'm not sure. But this one, it could be the oldest tent I own, I think, this one. Or one of them. It's definitely one of the oldest tents I've got. And it's definitely one of the rarest tents I've got. A Survivor, the J3, still going strong. Look at that sheet, look, thick rubber, no seams, no nothing. That is one piece of heavy duty rubber. No join, no nothing. That's just geared up to keep out any damp and moisture. And it comes up quite high in a little bathtub, so even if it was raining and you're sitting in like puddles of water, you'd be alright in this one. You really would. That's like really sealed up. So there you have it. That was the inside of the lovely old Marechal. If you ever get a chance to take a tent like this out camping, do it, because it is an experience, because they're lovely when they're really old tents. Something really nice about camping in an old tent. And there you can see that fly. I'm pretty sure that is nylon. It's quite thick, this fly, but it weighs nothing. It's really light. So I don't know what the material is. It's all reinforced nice up in the corners. Proper strong old fly, but it's really light. Even to a modern fly, this one is really light. It weighs nothing, that thing. And it's thicker than a modern fly, but it is just as light. It really is. It doesn't weigh nothing, that fly sheet. So there, you're looking at the Marechal. Lovely, look at, I forget how much, I haven't had this out since last year, and I've been putting up quite a few tents. You've seen the ones I've been doing on the channel. I've had a lot of my old ones out and all that, and then now I've got this Marechal up. I'm just remembering how lovely this thing is, and I have had it a long time. Like when I had this, I didn't have that many tents. I had a few. I did have a little bit of a collection of tents. Well, I had quite a few really, but like I didn't have tons of them like I do now. So this is like a special little tent for me. I like the fact got it in France. My dad haggled on it, and I got two of them together. I was so happy. Got this and a Phoenix tent. Oh, I was over the moon. And I remember we was away with my mum and dad and that, we had like a dormobile. So when we first got to the campsite with the old dormobile and set it up, I was like pitching these up outside. And I slept that night on the campsite where I would have normally stayed in the dormobile. I stayed in this Marechal. And then when we moved on to another campsite, because we was like travelling about in a dormobile, when we moved on to another campsite, I spent a few nights staying in that Phoenix. So both of these tents are like special little tents for me, because they got that bit of history with the old mum and dad holiday and all that when I was a kid. Not a young kid, I was probably about like 13, 14, 15, something like that. I wasn't a little tiny kid like when I had some of them other tents I've showed you. When I had them, I was really young. But this one, I was probably about 13, 14, maybe 15 when I got this. No, I reckon earlier than that. Maybe like 12 or 13, something like that. I was only young, away camping with my mum and dad in the old dormobile, travelling round Europe, lovely. So yeah, when they stayed in the dormobile, because I had these two little tents for me, I was pitching one beside the dormobile and I was camping out in my new little tents, because I hadn't took a tent with me. I was staying in the dormobile, but then I think we'd only been away like about a few days, something like that, and was in France. I found these at like the flea market. So the rest of that holiday, I was like pitching a tent up beside the old dormobile and staying in it. My own little camping holiday. Lovely. So the old Marechal, it's got some memories for me, this Marechal. Great little tent. Great looking little tent. So it definitely gets the thumbs up, this Marechal, because it's fantastic. It's rare as you'd like to still be going strong. It's really well made. It's a proper explorer's tent. And as you can see there, it's made in the Republic of Ireland. So it's a French tent made in the Republic of Ireland. So if this tent was a person, it'd be sitting in a lovely little French cafe somewhere near the Alps, and it would be drinking a pint of Guinness and eating a croissant. That's what sort of tent this is. The Irish French tent. Lovely old tent. Just look at it. You know you'd like one of these tents to use now and again. Fantastic tent. I had forgotten how much I love this thing. Really fantastic tent. Look at it. It's a proper bit of camping history. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe so you can join me again. I'm off now to sit inside my lovely old tent, chill out for the afternoon with Jess and do a bit of lunch. So let's go. Beef bourguignon, 2 pints of Guinness.